Okay, today is 19th of April 2021. Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Rotary Club of Leicester. I'm Parmdeep, Vadesha, the president, and just going to have a quick look for any guests. We have Hule Regina, a PhD student at De Montfort University. It's good to have you as always. Oh, we have Sharon. Sharon, I presume you're Zinthiya's colleague, because I haven't met you before.
I am. Thank you very much for the invite today.
No worries. Okay, glad you could join us. Is Zinthiya going to be joining us at some point?
Yes, she is. Yeah, she'll be on in a second.
Okay, wonderful. Just seeing if there's any guests I've missed. I don't think so. No. Okay. And any greetings from other clubs? No. Okay. On that note, can I pass to Richard quickly just to give us an update on the meeting we had with the Bordeaux West last week? You just need to unmute yourself, please, Richard.
I think, yeah, last Tuesday, I think it was 10 of us, joined roughly the same number of members of the Bordeaux West Club for a joint Zoom meeting, which was really good, I think. Somewhat inevitably, their English was rather better than our French, but there were some star performers on our side. I think notably Patrick probably came in as the best franglais speaker. The rest of us were a bit hesitant. But anyway, it was a really good meeting. They've clearly got a very active, vibrant club with a broad spectrum of membership. There was, I think, of importance to note that one of their members owns a wine merchant, which is useful to know, and another seems to own a chateau. So these are all very positive elements to the meeting. But no, they seem very keen to push forward with a twinning arrangement, and they look forward to us hopefully visiting. They do have an annual fundraising golf tournament in September of each year, although it doesn't sound so many of their own membership actually play golf. But anyway, that might be something of interest to sort of kickstart things. But but obviously so much depends on what's going to happen with all the restrictions. So we're going to sort of be in contact with them to see how we take this further forward. Probably, I think the next step would be for us to arrange a joint meeting, and I certainly going to try and endeavour to improve my French. I had my first French lesson with one of my daughters this morning, so I think it'll be a useful opportunity for us all to improve on our French. But anyway, so that was that, and happy to take any questions on that.
Do we have any questions?
Just a comment, actually. I did look up Monsieur de Beauregard, and that he is the one that's modestly mentioned the chateau. He actually, it's a very important sort of, I think, second or third growth Bordeaux, which is something that we can probably only afford for once in a lifetime special parties. So
right.
If we go over there, it'd be interesting to visit the vineyard there.
Well, we might get one free bottle between us, you never know.
Some years ago, I had about 2 cases in bond, but I sold them on at a profit.
Very good. Well done, Patrick. Yes, Clive, please go ahead.
Forgive me, I forgot to mention that I had attended the Rotary Club of Uppingham, obviously by Zoom, a couple of weeks ago, when I listened to, I think he was a former district governor, but a chap who very much liked the sound of his own voice, talking, he was a virologist, and he put the fear of God into me and to Carol in what he had to say. And in fact, Carol was so distressed by it, she left the meeting. But it didn't look very good going forwards, and COVID-19 seemed like a little bit of a pinprick compared to what might come. So I just thought you'd be pleased to know how they regaled themselves on a Monday evening.
Thank you, Clive. Well, I'm glad we've got Richard here as a sort of balancing influence against that sort of thing. Okay, right, thank you very much. Yeah, the Bordeaux Club were very nice, so I look forward to meeting them and hopefully hosting them in Leicester as well. Okay, right. So, any other greetings from other clubs? No, I don't think so. Zinthiya, just want to quickly say hello. If you could just turn your camera slightly so that the window is not in the background, we should be able to see your face then. There we go. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Lit up now. So excellent. So I'm glad you're with us, and I'll get to the speaker in just a sec, so that I know you need to go for your doctor's appointment. So thanks for joining us. Okay, Simon, do you have anything else to report on the AMAM? I know that's going very well. Would you like to just give us a very short update? Sorry, you'll just need to unmute yourself first.
No, nothing further at this stage.
Okay, great. Well, great effort so far. I hear it's going very well. Great to have you with us today, Louise.
Yes, hello everybody. Sorry of my absence, but I'm back.
It's great to have you back. And what's the name of your dog? For your dog?
Charlie.
Oh, okay, hello, Charlie.
Is he a family member now? Part of the family membership.
Excellent. Okay. Hello, Diana. Hello, Chris. Okay, excellent. So, oh, Chris, I did send you just before. I think Chris has just gone again, but I have had somebody. Did you get the email of the possible Ryler candidate? We're still looking for somebody. You'll just need to unmute yourself. I've muted everybody.
No, I'm out on site today, so I've not seen anything yet. But
okay.
When did you send that?
I've just forwarded you the email. I've had a contact from
okay.
somebody at Peter Jones Academy. She's managed to find somebody who wants to apply, and they're applying imminently. So.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, no, we've paid the deposit, so we've secured a place. So yeah, we'll be ready to go. That'd be great.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so on the projects, we've just made our David Brunton had just sent the second lot of David. I believe it was £2,750. Yep.
Yep, so that's correct. For five.
So that's £550, isn't it, per food bank?
Per food bank, yeah.
And I know for the last sort of few months we've been talking about this sort of food bank project and all the good stuff that's been going on. So I'm very pleased today to have Zinthiya and Sharon, who are one of our food banks and have actually had their first donation of food. So I'd love to hear how that went and what they think of the scheme. Okay, so we'll come to that in just a second. There isn't anything else. Secretary Barry's not with us today, so there aren't any notices. Any other committee chairman or chairwomen would like to say anything?
Could I just say, I had a note from the Montfort Club about their speaker this week. I don't know if anybody else has had it, but they've got a speaker talking about making the material for the parachutes that we used on the Mars lander quite recently, and they thought it might be of interest to us if we wanted to join in. So I've asked Barry to circulate the note, so if he's around he might do that. There's a contact detail for getting a link to the Zoom meeting on Wednesday morning. Fascinating.
It's interesting, isn't it, how Leicester has become this sort of leader in the space field in the last decade or so, and it's interesting to see that, right? I mean, there's a big new complex over at the Space Centre, and
Leicester University have had a connection with space for at least 50 years. There's nearly always been a satellite up there that Leicester have had an input to for about the last 40 years. So it's always been established, which is why the Space Centre came to Leicester in 2000.
Yeah, it'd be good to get an update. And maybe it's Ed, it's something, maybe we could work on that in terms of the speaker to tell us a bit about that. It's right on our doorstep.
Yes, we had someone not ever so long ago, but I will revisit that one because obviously quite a lot's changed. So yes, I'm happy to revisit that one.
Yeah.
I arranged for them, Chaz Bishop, the chief executive, to speak at Loughborough's meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I went along to it, and it was interesting. It sort of covered everything from space generally to what's going on at the Space Centre. So he might come and do that for us when he's got a moment.
Do you want me to make contact with him, David?
I'll see him on Thursday this week, so I'll have a word and see if he's prepared to do it again.
You've got access to the speaker diary because I've got quite a bit ahead of myself now. So there's.
Yeah, I can get to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Okay, without further ado, I am pleased this week to introduce Zinthiya, and I'm just going to try my best to pronounce this. Ganeshpanchan.
Yes, thank you.
So Zinthiya Ganeshpanchan and Sharon McCasey.
That's correct.
From the Zinthiya Trust. Zinthiya Trust works to alleviate poverty and abuse in Leicester and Leicestershire. As I mentioned before, we're very proudly working with them as one of the 5 food banks that we're supporting this year as part of our Rotary for Food Banks scheme. So lovely to have you here, ladies, and please take it away. Thank you.
Okay. Could I be allowed to share my screen?
Yes, I'm just, there we go.
Zinthiya, do you want to mention about how the first lot of food support went?
Yes.
While I do that.
So thank you for having us, and thank you for the support you have extended to us. We got our first food lot from Rotary, from Morrison's a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, and we have been supporting mainly our women who have fled violence and living in the refuges, and children, plus also some community members who've been struggling through extreme poverty. And through our emergency food provision. So we are grateful to that. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay with you for long today, but Sharon will tell you a bit more about what we do and how the food bank is supporting the wider community as well as the other support services that we offer. So thank you, and hand over to Sharon.
Thank you, Zinthiya. Yes, so as Parmdeep was saying, that our mission is to deal with the 2 biggest issues really that Leicester's sort of facing, which is poverty and also abuse. So thank you so much to the Rotary Club. I think you've probably already realised that, you know, the food provision is very important, and you probably realise some of the reasons why. But these are some of the sort of stats. The one that really sticks out is obviously child poverty. It's been a focus of the local council for quite a while in Leicester, but nothing has got any better. In fact, it's just getting worse. Other things that are sort of happening at the moment is that Leicester, out of the East Midlands, has got the most people on furlough. So obviously there's a suspicion that there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand later in the year. So at the moment, or over the last few months, the councils have had money from central government. They had a good winter grant scheme. All of that money was exhausted in February, and I think I think most food banks will tell you that they think there's going to be a huge explosion once a lot of the furlough schemes and support schemes have ended. Just click on. So briefly, just to describe our service provision, we have, so Zinthiya started the Zinthiya Trust 10 years, just over 10 years ago now. Started a women's and girls project initially, and that was a lot around abuse, and with a particular focus on women that had no recourse to public funding, that maybe came here on a spouse visa, were victims of modern day slavery or sex trafficking, and then were unable to get any help here. So there was a big focus on that. What we realised at that stage is that there was a lot of issue in terms of some of the practical elements to being here, and we widened the project and we went on to support men as well as women with a money and energy advice service, which we started in 2014. Zinthiya's always been very keen to tackle the practical elements as rather than just giving help, advice and guidance. So we've done a lot around helping people into self-employment, work placements and employment training through some of our trading divisions, which we have a cafe and a community shop, and also to provide the welfare support that the Rotary Club is helping with in terms of the food. But we also have a school uniform project, which we run every year to help families who are struggling to afford the school uniform, and also our community shop. So this is just a sort of impact pathway, which gives you an overview of one of our projects. So this is our money and energy advice project. So we're actually funded to do this from British Gas Energy Trust. So in terms of that, this brings actually, not only do we run the project, but we actually get quite a lot from British Gas in terms of individual grants that we can use for gas and electric top-ups to people that are in crisis. And I would say that since the pandemic's happened, we have seen a new type of beneficiary from what you might have imagined we had before. They were people that have always been working. They've perhaps been on a low income, so they've not really saved, or they only had savings for maybe a couple of months. And they've now found themselves, not understanding the benefit system, with unaffordable debt and just no idea really how to sort of navigate the system. So some of the activities we do under that project are budgeting advice, income maximisation, basically through benefit checks to make sure they're getting the right amounts, help with child maintenance applications. But we do a lot around energy and reducing household bills. Again, for people, if people, they're not able to afford one bill, by reducing others, we can perhaps free up the money so they don't have their rent arrears, that they can focus on their priority bills. We do a lot around prevention. That's a big part of what we do as well. So we really help people who are getting new tenancies. So Zinthiya explained, we're helping a lot of people that maybe have fled domestic violence. So they may be having a new tenancy. They've perhaps not managed their bills or anything in the past. So we provide a lot of support to get them set up correctly. And we found that when people have been homeless and then got their tenancy, if they've got the correct support at the start, their tenancy tends to go all right. It's where they don't have that support that then they suddenly already they're getting into debt because they're not sure what bills they should be paying and how to budget. So the sort of outcomes and stuff that we're getting is that people are being able to pay their priority bills. Less people are being evicted, although at the moment not many people are being evicted. But they're not getting into the rent arrears. They're not dealing with the stress of the sort of debt. I think on average it takes people about a year once they get into debt problems to sort of deal with debt. So we're doing a lot more to make people aware that there is help out there and that they can get help straight away, so that they're not getting stressed by that. And a lot to do around sort of energy efficiency of homes and making sure that people can heat their homes adequately and preventing ill health through that. So the impacts of that are improved well-being, reduction of impact on the environment, and that our beneficiaries are becoming more knowledgeable, more independent, more autonomous, and they can start to do things for themselves, know how to get help, where to get help, and prevent issues for the future. So we actually get referrals from over 40 agencies across Leicester and Leicestershire. Those are just some of them, but it's from agencies such as the police, the job centre, but we get them from faith organisations, domestic violence charities, a number of different sources and local agencies across the piece. We're very lucky to have a good team of staff and volunteers. So on our money and energy project, just to give you an idea, in terms of if we added in the work we do with the domestic abuse, we're supporting over 2,000 people, unique beneficiaries a year. And these are some of the outcomes that we've got for people. So most particularly, the gains in annual income is important, not only for the people that get the money, but also for the local economy, because most of that money is being spent, it's not being saved. So it is a boost to the local economy. But also helping with the debt issues is a huge boost in terms of people's sort of mental health and reduction in stress. And also the work we do to get grants, successfully apply for grants for people, would mean that people don't get into the hands of payday lenders or loan sharks. We've had an awful lot. Leicester's been particularly targeted by people that were on interest rates of 2,000% and getting into terrible debt because of that. So it's a big help to be able to get help with those things without getting into debt for them, for white goods and stuff. So last year, we track a lot of sort of the impact that we're having, and these were some of the impacts that we had for people. So these were good. And I think that the one that's really good is that people then feel quite empowered and are able to move forward and help themselves in the future and also be able to help others. So I think we found that although we directly support maybe 2,000 people, the actual knock-on effect of that is they're probably supporting another 5 people. So that's either directly within their family or that they're telling friends about the service and how they can access it and how they can help themselves. So this is just a bit about why we think the Zinthiya Trust is a little bit different from what other people are doing, and why it's really important that we continue to get sort of funding. We do offer a truly holistic service, and I think this is the way to truly solve things. A lot of the time, charities will get grant funding, project funding, but it's very focused on a single issue. The way that Zinthiya and the Trust have been really successful is the fact that we've managed to raise other bits of money that we can provide that holistic service. So we're not just papering over the and for that we need sort of unrestricted funding to do that. Yeah, so solid foundation work. Advantaged. We deal with a lot of people that have never engaged with services before. That could be due to language barriers, culture barriers, just digitally excluded, all sorts of things like that.
Sharon?
Strong on our follow-up with service users, because that's important to make sure that you're making a long-lasting difference to people. It's all right helping people with debt issues, but you know, if you're 6 months down the line they're back in debt again, then you haven't had the impact that we're looking for. So we're very strong on follow-up with people to make sure they're still getting the support, that you know they stay debt-free for a year after, or they're, you know, they claim the benefits again, that they're in place and everything. So no one's excluded. Again, prevention is a really big part of it. And I think one of the reasons why we're successful as well is that 80% of our staff and volunteers have got lived experience of the issues that we're dealing with, whether that's abuse, whether that's, you know, coming from a poor or disadvantaged background, so they can truly help people and empathise. This is just a sort of case study to sort of give you an idea about some of the work that we're actually doing with people. So we're unfortunately seeing a lot of relationship breakdowns now due to the coronavirus pandemic, and that's causing a huge amount of hardship for people. So a lot of family breakdowns and stuff like that, and an increase in the amount of abuse. So from January to March, we were 120% up in the number of unique beneficiaries that we supported this year over 2020. So this is just a little bit about what we did. But this lady that came to us was feeling totally hopeless, and she felt like she was letting down her children. Her husband had left, and she just felt like a failure. And she wanted to be able to provide for them. So these were some of the things that we did to support her. And some of them are quite small things, but just the toys for Christmas made a huge difference to that family, and for her not feeling that she was failing her children. Okay. So basically, you know, we're very, very grateful for the support that we're getting in terms of the food, and it is massively needed. These are just some other ways that people can use it. As we mentioned, we do try to self-generate money as well as sort of fundraising. So we do have our cafe, which is at the Chapel Cafe in Bishop Street, or our community shop. So we'd really encourage you to, you know, use our facilities and stuff like that, because profits from those will come back into supporting our charitable work. But just, you know, spread the word about our organisation, and, you know, any sort of fundraising or anything would be greatly appreciated. And even very small amounts of money can make a big difference to someone. As Cynthia's put here, sort of £10 doesn't seem like much, but actually that's a lifeline in terms of getting essential items for a woman that's fled domestic violence. And actually £10 would sort of feed a family for a week through the food that we're able to provide through our shop. So that's us really. Thank you very much for letting us present to you today.
Thank you, Sharon. You're providing a wonderful service to the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to have you here today. So if you could just shut down your screen, your share screen. thank you. And then I can see everybody. Thank you. And then if anybody's got any questions, please put your hand up and mute yourself and go ahead. Any questions from members? Seems like you've done an excellent job covering them all. I do have a question. Given the nature of your, oh sorry, Diana, I've just seen Diana. I'll quickly come to you in just a sec. Sharon, given the nature of the people you're helping, and given that they're often isolated and in difficult situations, how do they hear about you? How do they come across you?
So we advertise in lots of different ways, but as I said, we tend to try and work in areas where people go to. So we do a lot of outreach. So we will go into the homeless charities and we'll be there and do clinics and drop-ins for them. We'll go to community centres across Leicester and Leicestershire to be there to provide support. So we've done quite a lot of work in Barwell, out of Hinkley and Bosworth. We've done Colville. So we tend to try to go to places where people are to make it as easy as possible to maximise that. We do leaflet drops as well, just to houses. We're doing quite a lot at the moment to try and target, within Leicester, there's quite a lot of houses that are in fuel poverty. There's quite, so I don't know if you know your energy performance certificates, there's a lot of houses of very poor housing stock within Leicester where it's just impossible for people to keep their houses warm because they're, you know, rated E or G on the energy efficiency. So we're doing a lot of work now to actually target, because we can get that data where we can actually target our support towards the households that we know desperately need it, even if they're not aware that they can get support.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Diana, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if anyone does have time to pop in, obviously after May, to go to the community shop that they have in the cafe. They do lovely, lovely cakes. So I definitely encourage people to go down, obviously, when you can, because I believe the people that work there, I think they volunteer, don't they, Sharon?
Yes, they do. So we again, Zinthiya's always had an ethos that, you know, people sometimes come to us as service users, but we try to move everybody on and take everyone forward. So quite often people will come to us as service user, they'll then come and volunteer in the cafe, then they'll move on to perhaps, you know, an apprenticeship or something like that, and then paid work. And then hopefully the work we do with them, they're able to, as they work in a supported environment, they're then able to sort of move on and get mainstream work. So that's very much part of what we do. And within the cafe, we work with a lot of people that have learning difficulties and perhaps wouldn't have been given the opportunity somewhere else. So yeah, no, we'd love you to support what we do there. And as I said, the profits that we generate go back to sort of supporting some of our charitable activities. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Yes, John.
Thank you, Parmdeep. Sharon, thanks for that presentation. So I work and run Loris Hospice, and I've met Zinthiya once before, and I'm just thinking, there's probably some great links we could do where you come across a family where there may be an end of life care need, and whether we might swap emails, because clearly we need to do more to make sure we're servicing, if you like, and looking after the wider community of Leicester and Leicestershire and Rutland. So I'd love to make contact with you to talk about how we could sort of work constructively together.
No, that would be excellent. We do, increasingly, we do a lot of support for carers and making sure they're getting their assessments and everything else, and the right benefits as well. But yeah, no, absolutely, because I think a lot of people don't realise even again what they can sort of claim and what help they can get. So yeah, more than happy to do that. That would be very good. Thank you.
I'll post my email in the chat, and then if you were good enough to drop me a line, I'll come straight back to you.
That's great. Thank you very much, John.
Okay, any other questions? I do have one more, Sharon. You mentioned earlier that you anticipate a lot more troubles ahead once furlough ends and possibly in September. Is that because you feel that the people who are on furlough just won't have the skills and resources to be able to just find another job, or the jobs won't be there, or what sort of thinking or what sort of conversations are you having with people?
Yeah, I think we feel there's quite a few people where the jobs are not going to be there. So they're on furlough, but those jobs don't really exist. anymore. Yeah. We've supported quite a few people in the sort of women that have been in the garment industry and stuff like that. I think a lot of some of those contracts have gone because of some of the things that have happened. I think they've done a report now into Leicester saying that, you know, they couldn't find that there was any sort of modern day slavery, but I think reputationally that's had quite an impact on terms of people getting future contracts within Leicester, and those are some of the lowest paid workers. And I think just Leicester has obviously been hit because it's had never came out of lockdowns, had the highest sort of restrictions. So I think it's been hit the hardest out of almost all the cities in the UK, really, to be honest. Yeah, but it's interesting. We do a lot of work with sort of probation and the police as well with ex-offenders. It was interesting today that the retiring police chief from Merseyside, that it said that if he was given 5 million to sort of tackle like crime, he'd spend a million on policing, and he'd spend 4 million on tackling poverty and inequality. So I just think I think the sort of levelling up, or whatever people are calling, I think it desperately has to happen, because that is fueling so much other issues locally.
Thank you. We'd love to be involved in projects, but I guess you're quite selective in terms of volunteering opportunities and that kind of thing. Or do you have anything that we could volunteers could possibly help?
We do have volunteering. So yeah, if anybody's interested in volunteering, we'd have a chat to them about the sort of the work that we can do. So we have mentors doing different things. We have mentors on the domestic abuse side. We have people that will help perhaps with the budgeting side of things. We have volunteers in the community shop or fundraising. So anything like that, if anyone's interested whatsoever, then yeah, we've always got opportunities.
Okay, well, Nick, maybe that's something we could follow up, because we're looking for projects. We have the people. We just need things to do.
So, well, we've got plenty of things to do here. Plenty of things to do.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for inviting us.
No worries. And I'll now pass to Tony Jarvis for voter thanks.
Thank you, Parmdeep. Thank you very much, Sharon. Thanks for your presentation, which I thought was excellent, and being dropped in it at the last moment, but sounds like you've done it before, because it was very, very professionally done, very clear and concise. One of the facts that you put up on one of your early slides, though, was a bit of a surprise, because I'm a local boy, born in the 50s, growing up through the 60s, and I remember being very proud that Leicester was thought to be the second richest city in Europe, and it's hard to believe that now. I think it was based on the fact that there was a very high level of female employment from the textile and boot and shoe trade, and so the household income per head, Leicester was the second highest in Europe. Obviously, textiles and boot shoe went downhill badly in the 70s and 80s, but I thought, I still thought there was quite a high level of, female employment, but you say we're only 56% compared to 69% nationally, which is a big surprise. I don't know how recent that is. I mean, obviously lockdown over the last 12 months, as you say, has hit Leicester seriously hard. But, that was a surprise to me, I must admit. But the work you're doing is excellent. It's crucial, and the city and county need it. And I'm very pleased that you're doing the job you are. We really do thank you for that. And thank you for coming today to talk to us, and wish you all success for the future.
Thank you. Okay, right. So we just to close up, if everybody could just go ahead and unmute themselves, and we can all say goodbye to each other. And just as before we do say goodbye, if Richard would like to, if you have any updates on the COVID situation in the hospitals.
Well, I suppose there's one good piece of news. I worked on Friday, and it's the first day for 6 months that I didn't do a certification for a COVID death. So I suppose that has to be a red letter day. I think we've got around about 30 patients still in hospital who have mostly been in for a while, but that's where we are at the moment, and long may it last.
Good stuff. Thank you, Richard. Okay, attendance today is 19. Our next meeting, where we have Susanna Fish, former Chief Constable of Nottinghamshire. She will be, her title of her talk is "You Couldn't Have Made It Up." So we'll see what that's all about. Sounds good. Okay, thank you everybody, and I see you all next week. Stay safe, stay well, and all the best. Take care. See you then.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.